All right, everybody. Welcome to tkanddrinks today. We got my interview series going on. What's the story? This is going to be, I believe, my fifth or sixth episode here with my man Nic. I believe it's pronounced Rodda.
Yeah, Rodda.
Rodda.
Rodda's okay in an American accent.
I'll take that. From the Bearded Bee Meadery there in Gippsland, Australia, and outside of Melbourne, or they're in Melbourne proper.
Yeah, about 2.5 hours east of Melbourne. So.
Oh, right on. And so I've been following you for quite a while there on Facebook and Instagram and everything ever since I started my tkanddrinks journey. So thank you for being here today. And you've always seemed like a really cool place, man. You guys have such a great sense of humor on your social media pages. You put out some really unique flavors and interesting profiles. I just wanted to talk with you and, pick your brain and just have a chat.
Oh, thanks, man. It's great to be here. I'm actually a subscriber of yours and a big fan of yours as well. So appreciate the support. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I love to support anybody in the mead community, man. It makes us all stronger, and I'm going to try to do my part to make sure everybody can taste as much mead from around the world as possible. Get some American meads around the world, get some Australian meads over here, everything I can do.
We would love to do an exchange one day with all you guys, because I know you guys got some of the most amazing meaderies in the world. I've been lucky enough to taste one or two. I've been pretty impressed so far, but I'd love to send over some of our bush honey meads over to you guys. I reckon you'd open your world a bit.
Oh, man. Well, that's, again, one of the things that drew me to you as I was following you guys. I noticed that you put out a lot of traditional honeys, single variety traditionals. You had one that was called, let me check my notes here, was like Redburn? Red Gum, yep, and Banksia.
Banksia, yep.
And then a wildflower one, Gippslandia. What made you guys focus on traditionals like that? Because a lot of people stray away from doing a wide variety of traditionals, especially like single varieties.
Yeah, I think we started off with Gippslandia, which is just a mixed blossom random honey sort of mixing. It's just sort of a straight sweet traditional, very basic and that. But we started with that because in Australia, mead's still, we're a growing industry, but we're not quite there yet. So we wanted to start with something that was just basic and a good introduction to mead for a lot of people. So we sort of, and yeah, from there it sort of branched out. I mean, I grew up in the mead industry making traditionals. My first probably 20 odd batches were just straight traditionals, just trying to get that technique down and that sorted. I'm a big believer for any new mead makers out there is nail a traditional recipe. You would be able to do anything from there. I think a lot of mead makers jump into this. I'm going to make a melomel, I'm going to make this, going to make that. When it's like, if you can make a good traditional, like day in, day out, you can build from there and you'll be really good. As far as like commercially and stuff, for us, we always wanted to do that. We wanted to have a few different traditionals. In Australia, we're very fortunate. We actually have over, I think from last count, it was about 1,300 different honey varietals in Australia alone.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we have a lot of natural, our bush trees and stuff often produce a lot of pollen. So there's a lot of bush honeys and sort of random varietals around. We want to do like the funky things like your taco mead and your Vegemite mead or melomels and all that kind of stuff. We also wanted to also spotlight some of the amazing honeys we have in Australia. So things like your Gippslandia is just your basic start off. And then things like your Banksia is a beautiful, rich, dark, I'm trying to think of an American equivalent. It's kind of like a more caramel version of a buckwheat, I suppose. Like that real sort of thick, dark sort of honey, but real sort of caramel flavors and really nice. And then like, yeah, your red gum and ironbark, they're just uniquely Aussie bush honey flavors. So I guess for us doing it, we wanted to showcase that as well as doing, chili meads and funky flavors and spice things and stuff like that. Yeah, I suppose for me, it was sort of about, I want it to be that traditionals on offer, as well as all your funky stuff as well. So
now, have you guys done a lot of any melomels or metheglins or anything like that?
we've done a couple. We've done one or two passion fruit meads that were pretty good. We've got a chili mead we did not long ago that sold out pretty quick, and that's coming back hopefully soon. We haven't really done a lot of males in the traditional sense, purely down to, well, one is finances with COVID and everything like that, but also just supply and stuff. So we're pretty fortunate. We're in a very amazing area for fruit and veggies and stuff like that, but there's not a lot that we have access to in sort of the sizes and bulks we need at a price we can sort of afford to do it. So that was the other reason we sort of started with traditionals and stuff, was just to build up a bit of that following and a bit of that, build up the business a bit, so we can then start branching out from there, sort of thing. But it's definitely something we're keen to do down the track.
Gotcha. That's so cool. I mean, I love the fact that you want to start with, you know, build on the basics, you know, get the basics nailed down and build from there, because I'm a big proponent of that. If you can do the basic things right, you can only ever do the things beyond that. You know, it elevates everything you do beyond that.
Yeah, a lot of home brewers I've noticed, like watching the forums and Facebook and stuff, a lot of them will do like a Joe's Ancient Orange and then straight away trying to do fruit wines and this and that. And I say to people, slow down. Like I reckon I made a good 20 something traditionals before I made anything else. Gotcha. And that again comes down to I had 20 different honeys to play with. So it was kind of like, and then from there it was like, you know, I've got orange blossom, macadamia nut. What if I combine these?
Heck yeah.
And create a whole new photo profile. Like, so yeah, I think there's a lot of room in traditionals to play around and stuff. So yeah.
Now, do you have access to a lot of the same varietals that we do here in America? Like, you know, like you said, orange blossom. Can you get like mesquite honey or avocado blossom honey, stuff like that? Or even
avocado, I think we can. We do have buckwheat, but it is different to the American buckwheat. I think the one we have is more closer. I think you guys got two buckwheats. You got like a really nice one and one that smells like dirty socks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think ours is closer to the nice one. But yeah, I don't have access to it down here in Victoria, but up Queensland that they do. We sort of, like, I've been watching a lot of the Americans and stuff, and some stuff like, I think it's the meadow foam that apparently tastes like marshmallows.
Yes, meadow
foam. I would love to get my hands on that. We don't have it here. So yeah, we got some similarities, like your macadamia blossom, your orange blossom, that sort of stuff is pretty common. Okay. But yeah, we don't have a lot of the other stuff that you got, like mesquite and stuff like that. We do have sort of like your clovers and your, for us it's a lot more sort of canola and stuff down here. But yeah, I would love to come to America and just try different honeys, because I reckon it would be amazing.
Yeah, I
suppose the
Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
I'm rambling.
Your
own... Yeah, on the flip side of that, we have a lot of. Sorry, guy. Yeah,
we'll get it down.
Way too much interviews.
Yes. So with all that though, so you've been making meads commercially since 2019, or you started the Meadery in 2017. How does that all? What was going on in those 2-year period?
So 2017 we registered as a business, and it wasn't until 2019, early 2019, we got our license to actually produce mead. That 2-year period was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of nailing down recipes, and also just getting equipment and getting sorted. We sort of jumped into it headfirst and went, yeah, we're going to make a meadery. It's going to be awesome. And had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea of how much it was going to cost. We had no idea of how much equipment we would need. I mean, even now, you know, we're about almost 2 years into production and stuff, and we're still going, oh, we haven't got one of those, or we need one of those. Because just as we continue to grow and develop, it's like, yeah, a lot of little things we've forgotten about. So yeah, I suppose it took us 2 years to sort of really get going, purely because we wanted to make sure we had the best products out there. And licensing in Australia is a pain in the ass. Sure. Not so bad as your TTB and stuff, from what I've heard.
I'm sure it's all.
Yeah, you guys have lots of fun with it.
See, it doesn't matter which government it is. Like we were talking earlier, bureaucracy is bureaucracy. They all like to, you know, give you the runaround for no seemingly good reason.
Yeah, pretty much. And down in Victoria, where we are, mead is not actually in the legislation for alcohol production. So we went for a wine, and we have wine and beer and producers license. And so we went for that. And we were told, no, you can't do it. You're not wine and you're not beer. So we went, okay, so what can we get? And they went, what's mead? So I was on the phone to our regulatory body, which is the Victorian Gambling Liquor Regulation, trying to explain to them what it is we want to do, because even though there's one other meadery at the time in our state,
Okay.
they hadn't heard of it, they didn't know what it was. So there was a lot of running around for us in the sense of even just trying to figure out what license we can legally get. So yeah, that 2 years was a lot of mucking around, a lot of paperwork and stuff, but we ended up in October 2019. So
1 second. All right, go ahead now. Sorry, my volume was a little too high there.
No, all good. Tell me if I'm rambling. I get talking.
Oh,
so yeah, October 2019.
Go on.
So October 2019, we went to Timeline Festival, which is sort of like a Ren Fair, I suppose, a reenactment festival. And that was sort of our first big outing. And it just sort of blew up from there. So yeah.
So
it's been a fun journey.
did you guys, did you approach the other meadery that was already existing there in your state and ask them what licenses they had and what process they went through?
We did. There was one meadery and one honey producer that was producing mead as well. So there was actually technically two. The honey producer we went to and we said, hey, we're keen, and we're also keen to look at buying your honey and stuff. And they basically said, go and speak to BCGLR, who are our regulatory body. So they just brushed us off. And the other meadery just didn't return our phone calls. So, yeah, so we were sort of on our own a bit. It was interesting. We're pretty fortunate. So in Australia, we have a very tight-knit mead community. We're sort of, we're all in it together. We're all very similar to Americans in the sense of rising tide floats all boats sort of attitude.
Absolutely.
So we're pretty fortunate we can lean on some of the guys who've been doing it for a while in other states and stuff. So yeah, we got there in the end, but it was a lot of stuff around.
So have they come around, and like, do you talk with them? Are they still in business? I mean, that would seem like it could create a bit of an awkward conversation at the dinner table, so to speak.
Yeah, look, we haven't had anything to do with them. The honey producers are pretty big. I won't name them that because I do respect them and what they're doing. I think at the time we were just that little kid tugging on their shirts, going, "Hey, what are you doing?" Yeah, we don't really talk to them. They're not. Both the meadery and the honey producer aren't really involved in, I suppose, other meaderies and the greater meat industry. They're sort of just doing their own thing, and yeah, they're not sort of. I guess they still see us a bit as a bit of a little kids playing around sort of thing. I don't know. But yeah, we don't really talk to them. We're sort of, more interstate friends and stuff like that.
So you've mentioned growing the meat industry. So you are the vice president of Mead Australia, which would be similar to our American Mead Makers Association, correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
we only just recently started Mead Australia. It's been sort of brewing for a few years. A couple of guys up in Queensland that were talking about it for a few years, and then in the last sort of, I suppose, probably 2 years, a lot more meaderies have popped up, and there's a lot more of us, myself included, that are sort of coming up the ranks, I suppose, so to speak, that are going, hey, let's do this. Like we've got enough guys now doing meaderies and stuff like that why can't we create our own organisation? Why can't we sort of put ourselves out there in the international stage and stuff like that? So yeah, Mead Australia sort of did come from, looking at things like AMMA and even the European Mead Makers Association, and also for us trying to not compete, but work alongside. We've got, in Australia, got Cider Australia, who are obviously the cider sort of organisation, and we have Wine Australia, who are sort of our arch enemies in a way, who are the grape wine industry association that's been around for 100 years, and when the few of the meaderies start tugging on their shirts and going, hey, we want to come join and stuff, they just went, you're not wine, go away. So it sort of stemmed from I suppose, a gap in the industry and within legislation and like that. So yeah, so we started Mead Australia to really try and bring about a bit more, I suppose, professionality and a bit more structure within the meat industry from the country. And yeah, so that's been going great. We're still in the early stages. We're still developing, and we just recently opened up memberships and stuff like that. But so far, we've got about, I think, it's almost 20 Meaderies on board. So it's really good. It's been really, really good. Very supportive too, which has been awesome.
Is that across all the states?
Yeah, so across all the states. The only state that we don't have any Meaderies in is Northern Territory, which is what sort of Northern Australia. We don't have any meat producers in there, but that's sort of it is a territory, so it's a bit of a different sort of area. Not as many alcohol producers up that way.
Gotcha.
But on the committee alone, we have a representative of every state, which is really exciting. So.
Very cool. And that's all just come about in the past few years. Sounds like the mead community is really growing and blossoming. It must be a really exciting place to be.
It is, yeah. I mean, we're probably where American mead was maybe 10 years ago, in the sense of in the last even 12 months, or maybe even a bit more than that with COVID and stuff. But we've had, in my state alone, we've gone from me and one other producer basically to now about 3 or 4 Meaderies up and running, and a couple in development, which is really exciting for us. Cool. People often say to me, "Oh, are you worried about other producers and stuff?" But for us, more mead the better for us. I mean, from a business point of view, they are competition, but on a personal level and how we operate, we don't see it as competition. We see it as just growing the industry. You know, the more mead there is around in the state, the more people are going to drink, the more people are going to look for it. And we're confident in what we do. We're confident in our product. So, yeah, it's really good to see. I think we're on the cusp. We're sort of our craft beer industry has just exploded, and I feel like the meat industry or craft meat industry is sort of on that cusp of starting to grow and expand, like what America had in the last sort of few years.
That's really cool, man.
Very exciting stuff.
I'm excited to follow you guys, and I follow a couple other meaderies there in the area and across Australia. Like I said, I'm having fun watching you guys grow and watching the whole thing just blossom. So it's good to hear you guys are having a good time and supporting each other. It's super cool to see. So who else is there on your team there at the Bearded Bee? I know that's you, and then you got a couple other guys, Steve and Chris. Were you guys all best friends growing up or something like that?
Yeah, so we actually met in jail. And people often look at me when I say that. So I'm a former correctional officer. So yeah, no, we were all officers or screws in a local jail here, and that's where we met, sort of thing. And we sort of became good friends and sort of three amigo type things. And yeah, so it's part of where the business started. Was Steve went to Kangaroo Island, which is a bit of an island of South Australia there, where they actually have and I'm going to butcher this, but it's like the lignum bees. It's the old Italian bees that don't exist anywhere in the world anymore, apart from this one island. They were from Italy, but then there was a plague or something that wiped all them out there. So yeah, they have this world famous honey there. And he brought back some mead, and I'd never tried mead before. I'd heard of it in literature, like I'm a bit of a nerd. I read like Beowulf and stuff like that, but never tried it, never sort of thought about it. And yeah, Steve brought back this mead, and we knocked off a night shift from the jail, and he said to me, come back and play, try this mead. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay. It's like 6:30 in the morning. I just worked night shifts. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll come and drink. And he poured it for me, and I'm like, smelt it. I'm like, interesting. Had a sip, and it was just like, holy crap. This is amazing. Like, I've got to get some of this. Yeah, pretty much. First time trying mead, it was like all the flavors I love from different alcohols in this one thing. So yeah, we were friends and stuff, and we ended up. So yeah, we started making our own mead and stuff. So it basically came about because I went to Uncle Dan Murphy's, which is our sort of major liquor store down here. Went to get some mead, and it was like there was one variety which was from a winery in Australia, which I won't name, but
sure.
I'll be honest, it was horse piss. Like it was awful. So yeah, it's like I wouldn't use it to clean my fucking car. Like it's so yeah, so I sort of went to Chris, our mate, who's our our brewer and our he's a brewer and a Mead food scientist and stuff like that. And I got the recipe off him. We made our own mead, and then about 6 months later, yeah, me and Chris ended up getting just absolutely demolished off our first batch. Drank way too much of it. I walked like from one side of town to the other. Don't remember doing it at like 3 o'clock in the morning because I was so drunk. And during that drunken walk, I called Steve and was like, "Hey, we got to do this. We're gonna make this like commercially, and this is amazing. Like we can do it." So yeah, it was sort of a couple of years from then. We made more and more, and got to a point where we're like, you know what, we might actually be able to do this.
You guys,
so we're friends at work and that, and become. Sorry.
Do you guys all choose flavor profiles? Are you all brewers, or do you guys take turns? How does that all work? You all seem to have a home brewing background.
Yeah, so we're sort of so me and Steve are sort of the two, I suppose, officially part of the business. Chris, we dragged in. He's not actually officially on any paperwork with us, but we say he's part of the business because we are sort of the three amigos and stuff. And he's currently studying food science, so he's got some like mad science shit going on with different flavor profiles and stuff.
Yes.
I'd probably consider myself the head brewer.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of stuff with like infusions and stuff. So yeah, I consider myself sort of the head brewer, but Steve and I both, and even Chris, we try and do everything together as much as we can. We've been friends for a few years now, and we're all very similar interests and stuff like that. So I think I'm probably the one that comes up with most of the recipes and the ideas, but often it will be just me sending Steve a text going, "Hey, I want to do this," and him just going, "Fuck yeah, let's do that." Like it's sort of, we all have a bit of input and we all just sort of throw things out there.
Are these all
with COVID and everything? We've sort of, sorry.
Do you make sweet meads or are they dry meads?
Bit of both. So we traditionally make a lot more on the sweeter side. There's two, maybe three reasons for that. One is that's what I like to drink, and I know that sounds a bit weird, but I've always maintained that if I don't like it, I'm not going to release it to the public.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, if it's not something that I'd want to share with my friends or want to sit down and say, "Hey, try this." It's like, yeah. So yeah, one is that's what we like and what we like drinking. So and it's what I like making too. I don't know why, but I just find that I produce better sweet meads than dry meads. I don't know. And number two is also the market. So yeah, in Australia, mead's still pretty new and a sort of thing. And that's old, it's sort of new in the market. So a lot of people and our target audience are often like Moscato drinkers, like sweet white wine drinkers and stuff like that. So because we're making more traditional wine style meads, it's sort of our target market want that sort of sweeter. But we do make drier meads as well. It really just depends on what we're doing, what we're working with.
Was your passion fruit one that you made a dry mead, or was that a sweet one?
The homebrew one was a sweet one. Yeah, my first ever batch was a sweet traditional made with blackberry honey, which to this day is still my favorite mead. I've got one bottle left. Sitting in the cupboard. I was like, I'm going to hold on to that. It's got about like that much sediment in the bottom of a 750ml bottle. It was cloudy as shit. It was fusely as shit, but it tasted good at the time.
Hey man.
So yeah, we sort of started with sweet meads, and our Gippslandia is a sweet mead. We are working on a dry version of Gippslandia, so using the same honey but creating a dry version for those that like the dry version. But yeah, the feedback we've got is people like sweet stuff. They like having that mead, and often people too, they have it in their head that mead has to be sweet, which is definitely not necessarily.
So do you
part of our sort of,
do you ferment those dry and then back sweeten them, or do you guys just ferment to your target sweetness?
So I'm not a fan of back sweetening. I know a lot of people do it. I've played around with it. I've tasted back sweetened meads, my kind of stuff, and honestly, I'm just not a fan. I find, I don't know if it's just me or if it's in my own head or what, but yeah, I suppose some of our meats borderline on sack meats at times. I just start with a really high OG, and just go. So we've sort of, for most of our meats, like I'll say Gippsland, for instance, I've got this nailed down, and this comes back to like making traditionals for so long when I started. I've got it nailed down. I start with this, like start this sweetness, and I know it's going to clunk out at say 13% at this gravity level.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our final gravities for some of our meads are actually set quite high. Some of them it's even borderline. Some people might consider it an original gravity for some of them. But yeah, that's just how we like to do it, and I find it creates a smoother and more tasty sort of mead, personally. So
that's very cool. I personally have the same opinion. I don't take anything away. There's some world-class mead makers that ferment dry everything and then back sweeten it, and it's great stuff. Again, I think it plays more into what you were saying in the beginning about making traditionals. It's stick with the basics and then do something really well in its method, and then go and try other things like that.
yeah, cool. Alex, nothing against back sweetening. I think if that works for you, go for it. But yeah, sorry, that dropped out for a second.
It's just a matter of personal opinion.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, I'm a massive advocate of, you do you, boo. You do what works for you. You do what you enjoy. I mean, I've recently started a TikTok for our Meadery just for a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And one of the TikToks that's been quite popular for us is me just saying, I don't care how you drink our mead, as long as you're enjoying it, you do you. Like, I mean, I'm sitting here at the moment drinking it with some ice in my mead, which some people stick their nose up at and like, how can you do that? It's like, that's how I like it.
That's the way I love it. Ice cubes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people at markets say to me like, oh, can I chill it? Can I mull it? And I go, you can do anything. I say to them, you give me money and I give you a bottle, and what you do with that bottle after that, I don't care. That's up to you. I'm a big believer in, you enjoy your mead how you enjoy it. And I think that's one of the great things that I love personally about mead too, is just the versatility. I mean, it's, you look at not only Australia, but America and worldwide, how many different types of meads are there out there, and different styles from sweet as anything to dry as your grandmother through to, different fruits and spices and flavors, like it's just, I love the versatility of mead. At the moment, I'm sitting here trialing, actually, this is our a future release, having tasted it, of Bland, which is a milk mead.
What is your future release flavor? Is that the one I saw that says fire on your page there?
So that was our fire stick, which has already been and gone. We sold out pretty quick.
Oh, okay.
No, this is a future release. It's my version of Bland, which is a milk mead.
Oh, okay.
So I heard that. It's honey and milk fermented.
You use
and it's just turned out incredible.
Did you use milk, lactose, sugar, or something in that?
No, so this is just a straight traditional, except what it is, we use the whey, I think it is, sorry. So you basically warm up some milk, add some lemon juice to it, and it separates the curds and the whey. So the curds is like your cheese, stuff to make cheese with.
Yep.
And then the whey is this it's a disgusting looking green looking milk stuff. And yeah, I decided to chuck it in a fermenter, bit of honey, and just fermented it as I would a normal traditional. And yeah, it's turned out incredible. Very fruity, like weirdly fruity. And it's it's a bit of a mindfuck when you go, that's a milk mead.
See, that's what I'm dying to try some of your guys' stuff. I wanted to taste those bush honey flavors. I want to try the milk mead. Right now I'm drinking it's a mint julep flavored mead. So they had a traditional, they added mint and secondary, I believe, and then aged in rye whiskey barrels. And this is phenomenal. It's so delicious and smooth. It's from my friends at
amazing
Black Labs there in Kansas City, Missouri. So they make some
I'll
great.
tell you what, if depending what happens with COVID and stuff, me and Steve both said we want to come and do a tour of America, just a tour of the meaderies. Like,
And that's the great thing about that is no matter which region you go to, you're gonna be in good shape. If you go to the Northeast, you go to the Northwest, you go to the South, it doesn't matter. You're gonna have a great experience. There's a ton of great meaderies everywhere.
yeah, and that's been really great for us. I mean, when we were starting out and stuff, I looked at a lot of American guys, and I still am now. Like I'll be honest, I sit there and I watch a lot of these American pages and stuff, and follow a lot of American meaderies, and I'm watching what flavors they're doing and what they're doing. I go, that's a good idea, and like it's. I love the guns that are pushing the boundaries a bit of what mead can be and stuff too. Like idea of a mint mead that's aged in a whiskey barrel. Like that's just, it sounds delicious, but it's like it's like yeah. I think it's great. That's what I love about mead being so versatile. Is it's just. And that's what we want to do. Like we wanted to have like your traditionals and stuff. We also want to do some stuff that's a bit out there and a bit like, well.
I'm excited to hear your buddy Chris there doing all this food science, man. That's so just invigorates me. I want to see what you guys do. I know you're going to be smashing through some barriers and some boundaries and creating some just off the wall, fantastic flavors. I see it coming.
It's exciting, yeah. So he's currently studying food science and that at TAFE, at university, so chasing his dream. And he's come to me and he's gone, I've been thinking, like, we could start doing like extractions, and he's like, I could mix this chemical compound with this. Like, if I take this from tomatoes and this from lemons and put them together, and I'll make this whole new thing, and we could put that in a mead. And I'm just like, oh, this is like dangerous, like some mad scientist shit here. Like, but yeah, a lot of exciting stuff about like extraction. So we've always been very much, we want to try and keep it as natural as possible, and we don't use any colorings or flavorings in our meads. So, but yeah, what he's talking about of doing,
you guys
essences and extractions of things. Fine. Sorry.
Do you use sulfates to clarify with?
So we do use a little bit. We often use, I don't know if you guys have Turbo Clear, which is like a two-step chitosan and colloidal stain. I'll probably say that wrong. And then a little bit of sulfites in that as well. So we do use that. We sometimes use a bit of like bentonite sort of thing, depending. It really depends on the batch and what we're doing with it. Some meads and some honeys even, and there's one honey, a bush honey, which is a white box honey. It will ferment like from like 1130 to 1030 and drop clear in like a month and a half. Like it just, that one honey, don't ask me why or how, I'm yet to learn the science behind it, but if you leave it sit there for a month, it just drops clear all by itself. Whereas other ones we've had where, we could let it sit there for 3 years and it would still be cloudy as shit. So we use a mixture. We do filter our meads.
That's cool. Do you use a different process, like a mechanical type of filtering process?
Yeah, so we use a Rover Colombo, I think it is, which is just like a plate filter. So our process is basically to try and age it out a bit and then hit it with a bit of two-step just to help drop it clear, and then let it age a bit more, and then we usually will filter it just before bottling. Really just to give it that little bit of a shine. I'm not a stickler about it being perfectly clear or anything like that, but I don't know. I know I like it to be a little bit, a little bit polished and a little bit sort of. I don't really like the idea of picking up a bottle in a bottle shop and having a big ring of settlement in the bottom. It could turn some people off, so that's why we're sort of, we're sticking with that. Some of the other meads and some upcoming releases we're doing a series of historical meads. So we're currently working on a few different. We released one which we called Mead 1660, which was a German recipe from 1660, which was full of like rosemary and lemon and stuff like that. So we've got a couple more of those coming. So I won't be sulfiding or even filtering those ones. I want to try and keep it as traditional as possible. So yeah, for us It depends on what we're doing and what we're working with. We're
What
definitely not afraid to play around. And I mean,
um, you mentioned earlier that was that blackberry one of your favorite ones that you've made? You would say.
yeah, definitely.
What would you say was one of your guys' like one that just failed? You couldn't bring it to market. You tried, you made it, you tried to doctor it up, and it just couldn't. It didn't work out.
I don't think we've ever had. Actually, no, there is one. Over the last 12 months, because of COVID and stuff, we were like, you guys have been hit by a lot worse than we have, but we had about a dozen events lined up that just got cancelled straight away. So we're all online sales and shipping and stuff. So we sort of went, fuck it, let's just create small batches and ad hoc sort of thing, like whatever we felt like, where we get our hands on. So we've made a fair few, like over the last 12 months, we've released, I think, about 8 different meads,
Nice.
just in small batches and stuff. And none of them have really been failures, I'd say, or none, every single one of them sort of turned out. There's sort of tweaks that I would do, but there is one mead that I've still got it sitting there aging. It's about a year and a half now. It is a semi-sweet, borderline semi-dry, semi-sweet traditional. And it's just a traditional mead made with honey from my hometown, Traralgon.
Cool.
And it's one of the nicest honeys I've ever tasted. It's really floral. It's just a city honey, I suppose you'd call it. So it's basically honey collected from a few different backyards in the middle of a big country town sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful honey. Like it's fruity. It's got flowery. It's an incredible honey. But it makes the worst fucking mead in the world. Like, it's just, I made it the same as we did our Gippsland, and I was like, tasting, I'm like, what the hell? Like, the meat itself was well made, but the flavors from the honey that have come through, it's just full of like eucalypt type things, like a lot of like, I don't know how to describe it, a lot of like medicinal, I suppose, like a really shitty cough medicine sort of taste.
Oh, that's rough.
Sort of, yeah. And I sort of went, and the first batch I did a small test batch, and I went, geez, I must have really stuffed up I don't know whether I stuffed up the nutrients or did I use the wrong, yeast, or I sort of played around with it. So I made about 3 or 4 more like 1 gallon batches with it. And every time it was the same flavors that were coming through. And I was like, what the hell? Because this honey is just delicious. Like, it's an incredible, beautiful honey.
That's crazy.
But, yeah.
That's something, and with the multiple batches and everything, so it's just like a consistent thing. That is just too freaking weird, man. I can't.
It's like there's a flavor underneath. I think the floral flavors of the honey sort of mask this sort of eucalypt type flavors underneath. I don't know. So yeah, we end up our beekeeper mate that we've got who's out supplies all our honey, but he's also a good friend of ours, Luke at Gippsland Gold Honey. Shout out to him. He gave us a big bucket of it, and he goes, I can't sell it. He was going to throw it out. It was all crystallized and stuff. He's like, do you want to take it? Well, yeah, I'll take it. No worries. So we made about a 50-litre batch. So I've got a big old Italian glass demijohn, 50 litres of it, that I filled up and fermented it and that tasted it, and same sort of thing. That flavor's just not there. It's not where I want it to be. And I was like, what do? Do I mix it with something? Should I whack a heap of hot chilies in it or something? Like and I sort of went, no, you know what? I'm just going to let it sit there. So that's probably one, I suppose, I wouldn't call it a failed batch, but it's the one that it's sort of become a running joke amongst me and Steve and the boys of it's our perpetually aged batch. Like, we're just going to let it sit there if it takes 20 years and just see if it ever ages to become nice.
I was going to say, do you have any
12 months?
What could you do with it? I mean, have you done anything with any of those like 1 gallon sample batches or anything like that? Have you made a mellow mel or tried to do something, just anything with them, or is it all just pretty much all of it's just pretty much sitting there?
Some of it did get drunk.
Of course.
I sort of forced myself to keep trying it to see if it got better. I'm ashamed to say some of it went down the drain. A lot of it got bottled and just put in the cupboard and forgot about. And that was where I think it was the first batch I made. It was about almost 3 years old, I think. And I got it out, cracked open the bottle. I was so excited. I'm like, it has to taste good now. And tasted it. I'm like, it's better, but it's still not good. Like, it's still those honey flavors are just like, nah, I'm not putting that out in the market. So yeah, that's probably it's our what do you call it? It's like it's our Mount Olympus. It's our I'm trying to think of the wording. It's our one thing that I've never been able to master is that honey, which really annoys me because like I can put it on toast. I can, it's a great honey. It's delicious honey.
But it just
But
doesn't make
just
it.
can never make a bit of it. So yeah, so I said to Luke, I'm not having any more of that. I don't want any more. Give me a couple of kilos to use my coffee and stuff, but Meadery is not buying any more of that.
Nice.
But we've got this 50 liters that is sitting in Steve's shed at the moment. That we're just going to let it sit there for like 10 years.
See what?
And then just see how it goes. So yeah, that's probably the only real failure I suppose we've had. I've only had one commercial batch go bad that was a Gippsland batch, and I still to this day I don't know what happened because it was fermented side by side 4 other batches of the same size, same recipe, put on at the same time, same honey batch. It just stalled and just wouldn't work.
Dang.
So yeah, one failure and one that just never been able to master.
If money wasn't an issue for you guys, you had all the money, the resources, time, everything. What would be one mead that you would make?
Don't make me choose one.
Oh, sure. Well, okay. If there was a whole whole cornucopia of meads that you want to make, well, okay. So money.
Oh look,
Where do you start? What's the first ones that you start making? Where do you start and go from there? Because I don't know what you guys have access to, like fruit-wise there. I'm sure you can get a lot of, the same types of fruits we have here, but you have to have access to all sorts of crazy stuff that we don't, that I have never even thought about making into a mead.
Yeah. Oh look, I've got what I call my big book of mead, which is basically an Excel spreadsheet of like
What's in the big
recipes and ideas. Everything. It's about 20 tabs long now because I've had it over years. It started out as a sort of thing planning for the meadery, but yeah, the first tab is dream recipes or to brew list, I suppose you want to call it.
Yes.
And it's sitting, I think last check it was about 43 different recipes. So yeah, because it's a lot of it's just some of them. There's probably about 20 odd that are fleshed out recipes that's like I'm going to do that one day. A lot of malmals and stuff like that, but a lot of them too are just ideas. Like if I sit down and I go, you know what, I'd love to combine that fruit, and I put that down as an idea sort of thing.
What are some random ones out? What's the first one that you remember? What's one that's that always calls back to you?
There's a few. There's I'm really keen to work with like herbs and spices. There's always been something that's really been an interest of mine.
Something savory.
I suppose. What's that?
Something savory. Instead of
yeah. I actually watched one of your videos last night talking about some of the savory meats and that they're doing. Like, I'm dying to try the taco mead. Like, I've heard about it, and I've heard really mixed things. And I've been sitting down and I'm looking at like, I was even tempted to try and make my own version of it. I suppose if money was no object, I would probably go a strawberry bomb is the best way I can describe it. So we're very, very fortunate. About 40 minutes down the road, we actually have a hydroponic strawberry farm.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and they make 2 types of straw. I actually make color strawberries, but they have a strawberry that is a white strawberry.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever heard of these. They are big in Japan, and they're the only place in Australia that grow them. They grow them hydroponically. I have spoken with them, and they even gave us a few of their rejects as to do like a trial batch with. And these strawberries, these white strawberries, it's like sherbet. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. It's like a mixture of sherbet and bubblegum, and it's just like melt in your mouth flavor. Yeah, it's just
That's
like every time I go down that way, I always just buy a punnet and I just sit there and just like the punnet doesn't make it out of the driveway of their place. Like it's just incredible.
you're a man of my own heart,
If
Nick.
money was no object, I yeah. Money was no object, I would take that and I would also go to America and get some meadow foam. That meadow foam, the marshmallowy. Yep. That and some meadow foam. I get some imported some meadow foam honey, and I would combine those two to make a strawberry meadow foam bomb. So I'd make it a sack mead with like 1-to-1 strawberry honey like ratio. I would just a shitload of strawberries, a shitload of honey, and maybe like a saison yeast or something a bit more fruity. And yeah, that would be my ultimate, I reckon.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm on board with you. I want to try that. That sounds so delicious. Do you guys do mead and food pairings with your? I don't know if you guys serve food at the Meadery or not, but have you ever paired any of your meads with a food dish?
So not with public. So we don't actually have an open to public meadery at the moment. We're sort of for the last 2 years we've been working out of a converted shed or garage type thing. Yeah, we're very sort of low key. Like people come, I want to come see the meadery. It's like no, you don't. Yeah, it's a mess. So and I recently moved home, so we had to sort of move everything out of. So I basically converted my garage, a bit like you've seen Moonlight Meadery when he did a documentary about how he started. It was a little bit, there was a similar situation, but not as pretty. It was more just fermenters lined up along the walls, and so at the moment we are actually producing. Well, we'll sort of slow down production, but we're basically set up over like 3 different locations. So we're a bit sort of here and there at the moment, but I'm in the process of my new property with a bit of space. So I'm in the process of building a purpose-built sort of fermentation area, which is a fancy way of saying I'm building a shed, but it will be a proper meadery space, I suppose, dedicated actual space.
Climate control and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we're still probably a good. I mean, COVID kind of fucked us with everything. So we're probably still a good 12 months, if not maybe even 2 years away from opening up like a tasting room or something like that, which is the ultimate goal. But yeah, so we don't have anything up to the public yet, but we have done a little bit like with friends and family and stuff. We have done some food pairings and stuff like that. We're very, very lucky in Gippsland alone. We have some of the most amazing like cheeses and small goods. So like your salamis and your sausages and stuff like that. We're just blessed with that kind of stuff around us, as well as some amazing like seafood and yeah, amazing craft producers.
You guys have been to some farmers market? We call farmers markets like where everybody gets together and sells all their stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So we're lucky here in Taragon. We have a farmers market every month, and yeah, it's amazing. We've got some amazing fruit producers. We've got an incredible beef industry and meat industry in our area,
Hell yeah.
as well as like milk and cheeses and stuff like that, as well as some wines. We've got some great wineries around as well. So yeah, we haven't been to one yet as a meadery. It's sort of, I don't keep calm, but with COVID and everything, it was sort of on the to-do list. And that was part of our sort of strategy to try and, we're very much, support local, buy local. We're very pro local and stuff, and
very cool.
Very much love that whole, within certain amount of kilometers, if we could, we would have everything we do and make would be done locally. Like it's the only thing that we sort of do that's not local is our yeast, just because we're pretty limited in Australia what we have access to as far as like Australian yeasts go. A lot of our yeasts are the Canadian and American sort of stuff.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, we love to go to the farmers market. We went to an Apiarist Society field day the other week, sorry.
That sounds
which was sort of like a beekeeping field day. That was awesome. I mean, we went there. Uh, we went there with the thinking of it was just good networking and good sort of. We want to support the beekeeping community. We're very fortunate. We have a massive beekeeping community around us and stuff. So we went there more as to support them and more as to sort of get our name out there and network with other beekeepers and industry leaders and stuff like that. And we were hoping to maybe sell 30, maybe 50 bottles. We only took 250 bottles with us, and we're like, if we can sell 50 bottles, we've covered costs, I'm happy. And we were there for 4 hours, and we sold, I think, about 240 bottles. Because people just came up to us and were just like, I was setting up, and I had people walking up to me with cash in hand going, we've heard about you guys. We've been waiting to see you in person. Take my money. And I was just like, what? Like, so that was amazing, you know, like, and this is also too, I think post-COVID, we're very fortunate in Australia. We're on the cusp of beating the global bastard, and we're starting to get events coming back. So this was the first event we'd been to. Our first event, yeah, fingers crossed, our first event in October 2019 was the only event we got to go to, because we went to that in October 19, and that decimated our stock, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But it also meant that it wasn't until sort of January that we had new stuff coming. And then we sort of we were planning things for sort of mid-March, and then later in the year, we had a Viking feast lined up in Melbourne in July of last year. That was going to be I think it was like a 1,000 people dinner with like William Shatner and
Australian Viking Festival, right?
So no, not that one. It was for I forgot what it's called. One of the like Comic-Con-esque events down in Melbourne. They were going to have a big Viking feast as part of that, and they had like William Shatner was coming, Travis Fimmel who played Ragnar in Vikings, who I'm just a massive fanboy of as well.
Yes.
He was coming, and they were like, yeah, we were talking like 500 plus bottles just for the event, and then we were going to have a market there as well, like a market stall there as well. Nice. So we went from like, you know, like fucking full steam ahead to basically when March hit and COVID hit our shores, everything just shut down. Yeah. So
now, are you?
Yeah, so we sort of
line to the other states in Australia, or do you have to sell pretty much to only people who can come pick it up?
No, so we're pretty fortunate in Australia. We're not like in America where it's state to state. We have Australia Post, which is our sort of national postage company, I suppose. And we can post Australia wide, no issues. So our license is very much based on our online store. And yeah, we're very fortunate in Australia. We can ship anywhere in Australia. We can offer a flat rate postage, which is only $16, which is, I don't know what's like in America postage costs, but here it's ridiculous. So yeah, so our whole business model for the last sort of 2 years has been based on online sales.
It's really cool though that you get to take advantage of that opportunity. I've shipped one thing from America to Australia. I was part of a like a gift exchange type of thing with a friend in Australia. Man, holy cow, he lived in New Queensland, and man, I'll tell you what, that was a small package about the size of a shoebox, and that cost me damn near $100 US to ship it. It was insane. I mean, I had a blast doing it. I'd do it again, but it just blew my mind how much it costs to ship it there. Australian Post did a great job getting it there too, so I'll give them a thumbs up.
That's good. Yeah, they're pretty good. They got a bit of a bad rap, but I mean, we sent like 150 packages before we had one breakage. So that was a pretty good run, I reckon. Yeah, we've got a pretty good history, good working relationship with them too. They've been fantastic for us. So yeah, look, I mean, I would love to, we've been talking about as Mead Australia, talking about possibly organising maybe a bit of an exchange or even sending over a bit of a care package to you guys for even like say your Mead con or something. We'd love to be able to send over a bit of a collection of Aussie Meads. Because yeah, I mean, I've tried one of the Meads, and one of the best Meads I've ever tasted too was Brimminghorn Meadery's strawberry mead. I can't remember which one it was called. It was like a strawberry Yeah, so I was very fortunate. Vicky Rowe from Got Mead came over to Australia. I think it was 2 years ago now,
Yes.
and came to our Melbourne meetup or Victorian Meadery meetup, and got chatting with her, and that was great to talk mead and stuff. And yeah, she had brought a bottle of this strawberry Brimminghorn strawberry mead, and I was really excited 'cause I'm a massive fan of Brimminghorn, like virtually and stuff like that. So I got to try this mead, and holy crap, it was. I was like, as soon as I tasted it, I was like, just give me a whole glass of that. Like, screw all you guys. I'm sorry. I know I'm like, and I was the only commercial mead maker there at the time, so people are going, hey, try this, try this. And I just went, I'm sorry, guys, but no one else is touching my palate until I drink this whole bottle. Like, it's just, oh, it was by far the best mead I've ever tasted.
I
I
mean,
mean, I've tasted a few meads now over the years. Yeah, like so I've always said that's the one meadery, and I'd love to meet, I think it's John, is it, and rack his brain, because yeah, that strawberry mead was just, oh, it was orgasmic. There's no way of describing it. It was just,
I've got a
yeah,
cherry one from him that's the
amazing.
same thing. It tastes like just a slice of cherry pie. I mean, it is the most intense cherry flavor I've ever had. It is just otherworldly, man. It doesn't even it tastes like it's from this planet.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a big fan of his. I followed a few different meaderies over there and that, and yeah, I'd love to come and try a few of them, because yeah, they're doing some awesome stuff. Even like Up and Guard meadery and stuff. Watching interview with him, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, get you some of
Yeah, it's
that.
just, it's really exciting. Oh mate, I tell you what, I've even said, like, I'm like, one day when I can afford, I need to save up or something, and like just get you to, like, I'm like, I'll send you some money and just send me over like a selection of these bottles, because
Dude.
yeah, watching your reviews and that even too, and seeing some of the stuff that you guys are doing is just like, oh, I want to try that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I'm dying to try
well,
it from Australia, man. You guys have some wonderful looking flavor profiles.
yeah, like I said, I'd love to even just bring over a selection of bush honeys. Like, I know um, uh, Hamish, who's big in Australian mead and stuff,
Mhm.
Hamish Lucas, he came over to MeadCon with Vicky, and he brought some samples of the bush honeys and stuff. And apparently, you Yanks were just going crazy for it, like, 'cause it's so unique, and it's so, and that's what we love doing the traditionals. Like, we've got the Ironbark, Red Gum, Banksia, and we've now got a Red Box on its way as well,
Ooh,
which is another upcoming release, which is a bit more of that sort of eucalypty type honey, which everyone goes, oh, eucalypt honey, ooh, I'm not going to touch that, but it's good. Yeah, to be able to bring over some of that and show you guys like what we can do and what we're doing would be awesome.
absolutely,
So I
man.
think too, there's always a bit of a,
Go ahead.
yeah, there's always been a bit of, I think, to, no, you're right, sorry, I've talked way too much. Um, I feel like there's always been, and maybe just in my head, but I've always felt like Australian meat industry very much feels like that sort of little brother to a lot of like the Americans and Europeans and stuff, because we are still so quite young, and maybe it goes back to our colonial sort of history of, being the little brothers to Britain and stuff. But yeah, I feel like we're now starting to grow as an industry, that we're
Definitely.
now getting to a point where I think we could compete with, not that it's a competition, but um, I would love to see going forward maybe a bit more of an international sort of collaboration and stuff like that. I think
I
it's
would love
real exciting times for meat in general.
See, and I've got my wholesaler's license here in Arizona, and I'm also working on my federal importer's license. I want to be able to import some of these licenses. I don't know what it's going to take on some of these other countries' sides. I've been talking with some guys in Mexico, one guy in Brazil, and again, I'd love to work with somebody in Australia
Wow.
potentially as well. In the future, obviously, but I think there's too much of an opportunity to, like you were saying, that to have an international mead community. Right now, it feels so segregated. Everybody is in their own little world, and there's very little crossover. I mean, there's a handful of places that have gotten some international distribution, but other than that, it's a very, you know, you got your stuff, we got our stuff, and we're not going to play, so to speak. And I want to change that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think what you're doing is fantastic. it's definitely needed. I mean, we've been very fortunate. We can get stuff like Moonlight Meadery meads and stuff like that here,
Yeah.
um, which I'll be honest, and it's nothing against Moonlight at all. I know they make amazing meads, but the few that I have tried and stuff, it's sort of disappointing is not the right way of putting it, but you taste it and you know it's a good mead, but at the same time you know it's been sitting there for a while, or it's been sitting in a hot shipping container, or it's, you know, the few that I have tried, I sort of go, geez, I'd love to try this like at the source,
Right.
because I can't put up the field. But a lot of stuff we get, it's sort of perhaps, you know, it's been sitting around for quite a while,
I gotcha.
and possibly not been sort of treated the way it needs to be. So yeah,
Yeah.
we've been very fortunate. Like I said, I've now tried Moonlight. I got a chance to try Brimminghorn, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a few places around here that got a few different ones, but like I said, I think what you're doing is amazing. It's awesome. It's great to see, and I appreciate letting me come on as a rambling Aussie to be able to come here and talk to you guys. Is awesome. It's
Honored that you would
it's
even.
a bit of a, you know.
I love talking to anybody who talks mead, and to, as you put it, have a rambling Aussie on, I think is one of the coolest things. That the internet delay is a little bit awkward, but you know what? I tout awkwardness as a piece of, as like a pride of flag on my show.
Why not, man? Why not? I mean, the fact that I can sit here and drink mead at like 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm all for it. Like I said to my other half, she's like, "What are you? I'm walking with a bottle of mead and a glass. What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm gonna have a drink and talk to an American about mead for a little while." And she's like, "It's like 10 o'clock." I'm like, "Yep,
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock here. That's the same.
we're Australian, mate." That's what I said to her. I said, "It's 5 o'clock where he is. I mean, that's the rules. You know, it's we have a say. I don't know if you guys say we have a saying here in Australia. It's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world.
Yep,
You know,
that's the same thing
never
here.
challenge an Aussie to a drinking."
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, no, it's awesome.
Um,
I could talk mead for days. I mean,
Me
I
too.
miss the events and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and going to like the honey field day and stuff. It was just
Do you
we
guys,
walked away from that just on an absolute high.
do you have any more events coming up that you're going to go to? Besides that honey event sounded amazing, but that sounds like you guys have events that are starting up again. Anything else lined up?
So at this stage, nothing until October. So we're going back to Timeline Festival where it sort of all began for us, which got cancelled last year, which was a massive disappointment. Um, we went in 2019, and it's usually about 3,000 to 5,000 people at Cryal Castle, which, give it a Google. It's like this medieval castle that they built back in like the 70s or something. And it's just an amazing venue, and they're amazing people. The Timeline Committee and that are just so awesome. We approached them in early 2019 and said, "Hey, we'd be keen to sort of come along," and they just went, "Fuck yes, like that's awesome."
Yeah.
And our first year, we went there and we didn't know what to expect. We'd never released anything at that point. We didn't have an online store. We didn't have a website. We had about 300 likes on Facebook. We were pretty well unknown. And then about a couple of days out, or as soon as it announced that we were going there, we had people messaging us going, "I want to pre-order. Like, this is amazing. We're so excited." And we went there. We had like a small 6-foot table. We had one mead, which was our Gippslandia, sweet traditional.
Yeah.
And we had about 400 or just under 500 bottles in like these little plastic tubs. And yeah, we had like a shitty printed like cover for the table, and we had like shitty t-shirts, that like homemade t-shirts and stuff, and like we got business cards printed off on Vistaprint. Like, just we didn't know what we were doing. Steve and I both come from like we've been involved with business like through family and stuff, but never really been the one to present. And yeah, we opened up at like 10 o'clock, the doors opened for us for selling alcohol, and for like first hour, no one came in. I think one person came in, had a quick chat and walked off. And we were just like, "Oh man, like what have we done?" Like we spent like...
What did we just do?
Yeah, like we had booked accommodation in the castle, which was expensive. We'd driven like the actual, where it is, Ballarat, which is on the other side of Melbourne. It's like almost a three and a bit hour drive. So we were we'd driven like 3.5 hours the night before. We got there at the castle at like 8 o'clock at night, and like carted in like we had like 5 or 6 big boxes of mead, about 500 bottles into our small room. And yeah, we were sort of like a little bit over our heads, but by the end of that first day, we'd sold over half of our stock. Like it just blew up, and we met so many amazing people. And that first day, we were sitting. We actually got invited. They had a bard night where it was like traditional singing and comedy and stuff like that, like an old school medieval pub type thing.
Cool.
We got invited to that, and we were sitting there, and we didn't know anyone. And I'm very socially awkward, so it was like, I don't know. And we just had people like, "You're the Mead guys," and we're like, "Yeah, like come over here." And we got chatting, and yeah, it was just an amazing community. Like we fell in love with that event, and we fell in love with those people. So when we couldn't go last year, I was a little bit sad. I'll be honest. I was a bit like, fuck, like it's sort of, even though we've only been once, it's become our like boys' weekend away each year. Like we go there to sell mead, but at the same time, I'm more excited to go and see the people that I haven't seen and be around that sort of festival. And yeah, so like I said, that first year we went there with one mead and about 400, almost 500 bottles. This year, we're sort of, because of the field day, we actually got smashed again. Like, so we're expected to sell maybe 30, 50 for excited bottles. We sold, I think, about 250, which we're only a very small operation. We're still very, very, very micro, very craft.
Yeah.
Making very small batches, ad hoc sort of thing. Because of COVID, that we haven't been expanded as what we wanted to.
Right.
So 250 bottles for us was a lot. Like we've got a fair bit of honey and stuff, but because of everything going on, we hadn't been able to do the production we wanted to. So we got smashed. So most of our stock's gone. We've got maybe like, I don't know how many bottles we've got on stock, but not a lot. So we're sort of, as far as upcoming events, we sort of had to sit down and go, okay, what do we want to do for the next 12 months? Where do we want to be? So timeline in October this year is now going ahead. Fingers crossed, COVID stays the fuck away. And that will be big for us. So we're planning on going there again. And this time though, we've got the timeline committee that basically said to us, when you come back, we're giving you your own space. So previously, like I said, we had just like a 6x4 table. It was like tucked away near a doorway and stuff. This year, they've basically given us like a whole room because they're just like, everyone was coming to see you guys. So we're just like, we're there. We're going to try and sponsor the event to give back a bit as well. And at this stage, we're looking at, depending on what happens, we're going to finalize on that. We'll probably go there with about 8, possibly 10 different meads to sell. And we're probably hoping to, punch through maybe about, hopefully a few hundred bottles. I'm hoping to get over 500 bottles sold this year if we can.
That's even low, man. You got to be at least thinking 1,000 bottles. You moved 200 bottles in one day in your first year. You got all 2 years worth of. Come on, man. You're gonna blow through your whole stock. Come on.
We hope so. We hope so. So yeah. So I mean, we're not. There's a couple of events coming up. There's a couple of events coming up that we wouldn't mind going to, like some small events. We've got another field day coming up. We'll probably go to again, but nothing major. We're now focused on just production and getting things underway to try and get our stocks back up. Once the shed's properly built and stuff, we can actually get a bit of a rotation going and make sure that. So we'll probably have about 5 or 6 meads that'll be sort of begin to be available all the time. At the moment, we're very much just batch releases. So we'll release a batch of anywhere from 50 up to 250, 400 bottles for that batch. Sometimes as low as, like, the lowest we did was a 25 bottle batch, like 375 ml bottles. So it's still quite low, but for us, it's very much, we'll make a 5-liter version. If that's good and our friends like it, we'll make like a 30-liter version, probably sell that. If that goes well, go up to the 50. If that goes well, go up to 100. And then, so like our Gippsland and that, we sort of make it still in like a, I don't know what it is in gallons, but about 100, 150 litre batches. So still quite small in the grand scheme of things.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of our
That's
commercial,
kind of how we like it too.
a lot of our commercial meaderies in the U.S. Produce in those same size batches. There's very few meaderies that produce that have the same consistent stock year round available to purchase anytime off the shelf. I would say there's probably a dozen or so that are in that category, but the vast majority of meaderies are very much still batch driven. They sell out all their batches, and that's just how it is. And that to me speaks good, because that means that there's a high demand for the product. The supply and demand of it all is in favor of the mead makers.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I mean, I love doing batch. Like I said, with COVID and everything, it was sort of, we're in a position where we had a heap of honey, but we didn't necessarily have access to a lot of other things like fruits and stuff like that. So it's been amazing for me. I've been able to play around with a lot of different herbs and spices, and the one thing that and a little bit of a I suppose sneak peek for what got coming up.
Yes.
I've been able to play around with a lot of teas and coffee and stuff, which I'm so excited for. Yeah, and it's something that no one in Australia is really doing, because a lot of people, like I've seen a lot of mead makers trying to make coffee meads and stuff like that, and not really working out. And I'll be honest, I never sound a bit like I'm bragging. I'm not. I'm a bit cocky, but I stumbled across my coffee recipe and I nailed it first shot by complete fluke and by complete accident. It was.
Take it, man. Happy accident.
Yeah, pretty much. So we were very fortunate at Timeline. One of the people we met was the Aussie Veterans Coffee Company. So I'm very passionate about like military veterans' health and,
yes.
and broader thing. I'm very passionate about men's mental health and stuff like that, and that's something that we're having to explore as well down the track. Yeah. Look, I'll be honest. I'm someone that I've had my Australia. I know a lot of blokes have, and it's something that in Australia as a whole, I think we've got a big gap in our services as far as what we call blokes' mental health here. So we're really passionate about that, and the Aussie Veterans Coffee Co. are also very passionate about that. They work with a lot of veterans and stuff like that. But I managed to purchase some of their coffee, and it was like beautiful coffee. And I had like 6 5 or 1 gallon demijohns full of Gippslandia that were just sort of left over, that we sort of kept aside for like doing test batches and infusions and stuff. So I just went, sweet, got a bit of this coffee, chucks it into the finished traditional, sat there for I think about a week, and then I just filtered it off, took a sip and just went, ding, that is awesome. Yeah, so there you go. There's a secret, guys. If you want to make good coffee, just make a good traditional, use the best coffee you can get a hold of, and just infuse it. So
work with them.
I'm playing around at the moment.
Are you going to work with them on like a collaborative level with that? Have you spoke with them about it, or is this something that you're just kind of toying with and thinking about?
So a bit of both. So they probably won't watch this, but I'm going to approach them and say, hey, would you guys be interested in collabing? Because, I mean, like I said, we met them at Timeline. They're great blokes. They're just, and guys, girls, they're a great crew of people who are just so passionate about, and it's something that I know in America it's probably very similar. There's a massive gap in veteran support. So there's amazing support services out there, but there's so many veterans that are, given their all for this country, yet are homeless or struggling with mental health and PTSD and all that kind of stuff. So we would love to be able to use our platform to sort of shine a light on them as well. So it is always comes back to business for us.
Yeah.
Like we are a for-profit business. We are a business at the end of the day, but if we can also use that business and use that platform to then also bring some attention, we can make some money to then invest back into our business, but also bring some attention to things like that company that are giving veterans, employment opportunities and all that kind of stuff. Like that would be awesome. That's what we want to do. We want to collab with different places and different people to try and. It's a win-win situation for us as a business. It's great because it gives us exposure, but also it's from a more personal level. It's what we want to do as blokes, as people. We're never going to be a big conglomerate organization. We're never going to sell out to freaking Carlton United breweries. Like we're never
Oh, it's a
we're
bunch
never gonna.
for cores or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's sort of, I suppose, the Miller's version. We're never going to sell out to any big organization but we we do want to grow, but we also want to always maintain what we started as, which was essentially two mates that just went, you know what, we've got something here.
That's
And
so
if we can use our platform to promote good causes, we want to do that as well.
yeah.
So yeah, so we're very much, we started from, Steve and I both come from quite sort of you know, low socioeconomic backgrounds. Like we're working class sort of backgrounds, so we always want to maintain that as a business as well. We always want to be inclusive. We always want to we've been talking about for a while now. Possibly if we do eventually open up a mead hall or whatever, a tasting room, we want to have it like a mead hall where it's basically we don't care what race, color, creed, or
Right.
where you're from or whatever it is. We don't give a shit. As long as you like mead, you're welcome. And even if you don't like mead, that's okay. You're still welcome as well. We'll have some other stuff.
That's
But
one of the things I love
yeah,
about
we've
English pubs. That English pub mentality. Everybody's welcome. You just come in, you have a good time. It becomes like a second or third family to you, and I love the mead hall idea. It's so awesome.
yeah, no, we would love to do that, especially where we are or where I'm in Latrobe Valley. We're a quite a how do I put this? Quite a not rough, but we are very a lot of poverty, a lot of homelessness, a lot of that sort of stuff, and we've got a bit of a working class reputation, I suppose. And so there's a lot of sort of divide and stuff amongst the community. So we would love to be a bit of a community hub as well. You know, we are an alcohol producer, we are that kind of stuff, but we would love to be able to host community events, host gaming nights, host, you know, different things and help promote other local businesses as well. You know, my dream is to have a showcase where it would be, you can walk into my mead hall, which might be a little tasting room, but we'll call it a mead hall. You can taste our stuff, but you can also taste the local craft breweries. You can also taste, you know, local cheeses and meats and stuff like that, and have everything local that you can just walk in and you can just try all this different stuff from amazing places.
Almost have
So
like
yeah, we've got big dreams, but
almost have like the farmers market inside your meadery there. You could have all those same people on on consignment. Here, you want something? Come buy this really cool craft soap or this really cool craft beard oil or something like that, and just bring everybody up in your community
yeah,
together.
pretty much, yeah. And to stock things like the Veterans Coffee Company and stuff like that too, to be able to, I suppose we want to be bigger than just a meat producer. I mean, Steve and I both work full time outside of the media as well. We both have our 9 to 5 jobs, and the dream is to eventually ditch that and do this full time.
Yeah.
Might be a while yet, but even when we do this full time down the track, we still don't want to lose that two blokes from Gippsland mentality. That sort of two country boys that just want to have some fun and include people. You know, we've even been talking about opening up like a restaurant type thing where it would be like a sort of Nordic, sort of a Norse meets Aussie outback together clash sort of thing. Be like a family cafe type thing. But you know, if we're your boss and stuff, you're still going to have us. We're still going to be that, you know, larrikin type thing. So yeah, we don't want to lose that. And
No,
I think I love about the meat industry as a whole, and I've noticed even with like you guys in America and that we're very similar in that share of a real community. And it's a very much very inclusive and very yeah, really good. I really enjoyed that side of it.
that's what I love about you guys. You come across so genuine in what you do, and I love to hear that you don't want to lose that. You want to stay true to who you are and stay true to your brand and stay true to Australia and everything. Stay true to your home. That fits in perfectly with everything I'm about, man. I'm happy and proud to be able to support you in your ventures, brother.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, no, we just love the industry. We love Mead, love the people, love what you're doing. I mean, I said to Steve when we first started, like I want us to be like, obviously with our logo and stuff, we're very sort of, we lean heavily into like the Viking-esque or the Nordic sort of stuff. That's also, it's not, I can tell with my hair maybe, it's not a gimmick for us. We've had a bit of criticism about and some of it's come from other mead makers in Australia, where it's like, oh yeah, I've seen that, the whole Viking thing. It's you won't last with it. It comes and goes. And yeah, but we don't want to be just the Viking guys, whatever. This is us. It's not, our logo and stuff is designed by a good friend of ours who, it's not a gimmick for us. It's not we believe in a lot of this stuff as a first level and stuff too. But I said to Steve, I want us to be able to go to something like Timeline, dress as like berserkers with like face paint and like tunics and have an axe. Like I've got Bessie, my horn, to be able to go to the places like that and be amongst it and be the Mead guys and all that kind of stuff. But then I also want to go to our local wine festival, be there in a polo top and basically outshine the wine guys. Like I want us to be those guys, because that's who we are too. Like, I mean, I'm not a shirt and tie kind of guy, but I want to be able to hold our own.
Yes.
Both with the Ren fairs and the reenactors, but also with the snobby wine guys.
Yep.
And yeah, we've seen that in Australia. There's a lot of meaderies that are going to these wine festivals and having the wineries crack the shits because they're getting more attention than the wineries are. So yeah, that's who we are, and that's what we're about. Is we want to be inclusive. We want to fit in both groups, but we're definitely more at home at like the Ren Fair or at the reenactment festivals and stuff than maybe at the snobby wine tastings. But
that's so awesome. I love that you have that mentality of I want to go out with the Ren fairs, and I also want to go hobnob with the guys in the polo shirts. It needs to be that way. There needs to be somebody who can use, for lack of a better term, comic relief to help bridge that gap, because there doesn't need to be the hoity-toity, snobby people and we call them here in America like the beer bros. I think they're just too cool and only drink certain things. And everybody needs to be able to appreciate everything. We're all appreciative of craft beverages, and the divide, I think, is a bit asinine, to be honest with you.
Definitely. And look, we're exactly the same in Australia. I mean, if I see one more fucking IPA get released by a craft brewery, I'm going to cry. But no, I'm a big fan of the craft beer industry and stuff like that. I'm a beer drinker. But yeah, I've noticed that there's definitely still that divide. The craft beer industry in Australia has just gone absolutely nuts, to the point where I just recently saw a local brewery released a blue cacao, what it's called.
Yeah.
Blue cacao milkshake stout.
Yeah. It's like
wrap your head around that one for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a blue liqueur milkshake stout. And it's just like, okay, cool. But then you get these guys that are on there and they're going like, oh, this is, I'm going to buy this for the novelty of it and that. And I do worry sometimes that we're moving away from making quality stuff, but yeah, but it's also exciting though. And I've noticed in that industry, especially, there are those snobby craft guys, and we have our own snobby craft guys in the meat industry, but we also have our own customers. We've got one or two guys that have contacted us to try and get bottles that we don't have anymore because they want it for a collection. And that's totally cool. I love that. So we're pretty fortunate.
Yeah.
Sorry?
If somebody's asking you for a collectible bottle, that means they're going to sell it on a secondary market. They can't get it anymore. Nobody else can get it. Somebody else wants it, and they want to get it from you and to be able to sell it for twice as much as they bought it from you for. That sounds shady as fuck.
It is, yeah. And look, I mean, I don't hold any grudges there. Like, it's big in the whiskey industry in Australia, the second-hand market. That's massive, more whiskey than most of the beer and stuff. Nothing against guys that want to do that, but at the same time, I hope the meat industry doesn't go that way, because I think it's sort of, I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit of a stickler to the law and stuff, but I feel like it sometimes can not undermine, but it's sort of a bit. How do I put it? I don't know. It's not my thing.
No, it's not my thing either. I feel like it genuinely holds back the industry. You know, you make it something that's taboo almost. You know what I mean? If you can't, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it's just not something I've ever really supported. And I say I'm guilty of it. I've definitely had some secondary market products and stuff, but man, it's really hard to support something like that when you know there's people like you that are putting all this hard work and energy into it to sell it for your price, and then somebody else comes along and sells it for $60 because it's, you know, something that they can't get anymore. I know it's not.
Yeah, look, as a consumer, I've done it too, I'll admit. But as a mead maker and stuff, if people want to collect it, I think that's awesome. That just makes me sort of go, I'll be honest, I sort of sit there and go, why do you want to collect my stuff? Like, really? Like, we've got one bloke we've sort of become friendly with over the years who he's got a collection of every bottle we've released. Every time we release something, he's the first order in. And even like our t-shirts and stuff, we did a run of t-shirts and he put in like 2 orders. And we had, you know, like these drinking glasses we made for a local event, which we haven't sold online and stuff, but he saw the photos we put online and he goes, what are those glasses? I want one. I want to collect everything you guys do, because he loves our logo and loves our whole thing.
Smart
so
man.
We do have people who like that. I think it's great. I think it's so exciting, but at the same time, I sort of go, why? Like, what are we doing that's so good? But yeah,
I see the same thing coming. Anybody who's got a bottle of whatever you guys have, you know, put out, that Gippslandia or the Red Gum, the Banksia, any of that stuff, those first batch 1, B1 bottles, come 3-4 years, man, those are going to be a hot ticket item. I can guarantee you that secondary market's going to be having those, and you guys are going to be just astonished when you see one going for $100 online.
Like I've seen it with the whiskey industry. Like, it's incredible. Australian whiskies go from strength to strength as well, and it's incredible some of the secondhand market stuff with whiskey that's going on. So yeah, look, I know no grudges anyone that wants to do it and that, but yeah, I'm a big believer of, if you want to collect it and that's cool, but drink it. Like, don't buy a bottle and have it sit on a shelf for fucking 20 years. Drink the stuff. Like, enjoy it. Like, I got my hands on a bottle of 21-year-old whiskey. It was like awesome. And a friend of mine goes, "Oh, you're not going to drink that, are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I drink it all the time."
Hell yeah.
And he's like, "You what?" I'm like, "Oh, I try and keep it for special occasions, but you know, it's a beautiful bottle and stuff like that." So I'm like, "I'll probably keep the bottle on that." But he's like, "Why wouldn't you like keep it and try and sell it?" And I'm like, "Well, why not? I got it actually as a present on my 21st birthday." So it was like, I don't feel like I can unsell it. But then too, it's kind of like, I want to taste it. You know, like I don't want to sell it. I want to drink it, enjoy it.
Same category.
So yeah, I always say to people, like, if you want to,
I put that in the same category as people who want to who buy like a Ferrari or like a super sports car and don't ever drive it. They just let it sit in the garage the whole time. It's like, what the hell is the point in having it if you're not going to enjoy it, man? Take that thing out, cut it loose once in a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I love collecting, and I'm a bit of a collector myself and that. But yeah, I think with things like mead and stuff, to me, it should be enjoyed, and it should be shared, and it should be loved. I mean, I've kept at least one bottle of everything we've produced, and it's set aside in a very special tub that will stay in the cupboard for a while. And that, what we want to do is, once we do open up a meat hall or tasting room, I want to do like a big shelf on the wall and just have like a timeline, almost like a display.
Yeah.
Of every bottle we've ever done. So things like that, I keep little mementos and like old T-shirts we've done. Like, we changed our logo a little while ago, earlier this year, just altered it slightly, but I've kept my old T-shirts because I'm like, they're sort of mementos and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of secondary market coming through in the coming years. I mean, I'll be honest, there's a few meaderies here in Australia that don't produce the thing that I love anymore, and I've said to them, "When are you making more?" And he's gone, "No, I'm not making any more. I can't get a hold of it, or don't want it, whatever." So it's like, if I ever see that pop up, I'm buying it.
Oh, kidding, man.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it.
no bashing on the secondary market things is something I don't understand. Like I said, I'm with you. I'd rather just drink it ahead of time. I'm not trying to save it around and save it like a baseball cards or something like that. Enjoy it. It's going to be delicious. You're going to love it.
I always encourage people if they buy a bottle and they're like, oh, I'd love to have a like age it for a bit or whatever. I'm like, do it. I'm like, here, buy 2 bottles.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on what event we're at and stuff, I often say to people, yeah, I often say, depending on what event we're at and something, I'll sometimes do deals with people because I'm dodgy like that. But I'll say, look, how about I'll do 3 bottles for this much or whatever. Because I love it. And I've said to people, we release our mead when we think it's ready for the market, in a sense of when it's we're constantly trying it and tasting it and seeing how it develops and that. And we release it. Some meads we release within 3 months of being pitched. Others won't see the light of day for 2 years. Just depends on what we're doing with it. But we release it when it's ready to be drunk, and when it's aged enough that it's at a standard that we're happy with. I'm not saying we obviously don't release anything that's still really hot. We try not make hot stuff, but anything that's still got any faults or it's not.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit anchorish, but I've sort of got an idea in my head of I have a standard that I want my meat to be at. Yeah. If I taste it, and it's not something I can really describe. Like, people often say to me, like, how do you know when a meat's ready? And it's like, just do. It's like I have my own palate, and I'm not a beer JCP judge or anything like that. I'm not a mead judge. I never claimed to be. I have the meads I like, I have meads I don't like. But for me, for my meads that I'm making, it's very much, I'll taste it and I know when it's ready. I know when it's at that stage. And the more we do it too, like for instance, your Gippslandia and stuff, I taste that like once a fortnight, even once a week, even once fermenting. Like, people go, "Ooh, you taste fermenting meat?" I'm like, yeah, because I want to know exactly what it tastes like throughout those stages. And something like Gippslandia, that's going to be a staple for as long as we operate. We'll sell Gippslandia because that's our base, that's our bread and butter. Like, that's a basic meat. But the more I can taste that, the sooner I can pick up where the faults are going to be, or the sooner I can learn, where it's going to end up and stuff. And the more I then know exactly when it's going to be ready by. So I encourage my home brewers. I'm like, even if it meat's cloudy as shit and fusely as shit, still taste it. Don't tip it out. Like, I had a mate that started making his own mead, and he fermented it, like just chucked the yeast in, dry it, and fermented hot during the Aussie summer. Like, it just turned out to be like rocket fuel. And he just tipped it out. And I was like, dude, why'd you tip it out? He's like, tasting shit. I'm like, yeah, but just let it sit there. Like, even if it takes 2 years, let it sit there, because it could become a beautiful mead in time. Okay. So yeah, for us, it's really about, we release it when I'm happy with it, and when I'm happy with it, go to market. But I often encourage people, especially with something like Gippslandia, like, if you want to, chuck a bottle in the cupboard or wherever you would store your wine normally. Don't touch it for 12 months, 6 months, whatever it is. The longer you leave it, it's not necessarily going to get better. I don't like saying it's going to get better, because people go, oh, well, does that mean it's not good now? It's like, no, it's good now, but the longer you leave it, the more it will develop still. Mead's one of those things that, I mean, I've got a mead at the moment. The oldest mead that I still have is now ticking on almost 4 years old now. Yeah, and it was brewed in October. I should know this because it was when my son was born. It must have been 2018. Yeah, 2018 it was. So yeah, it's
okay.
3 years? 2017. I can't remember now.
Somewhere.
When my son was, yeah, somewhere. He's turning 4 this year, so that's how I remember how old it is. Yeah, it was brewed for him. I brewed it. It's a sack mead, and it's 3 parts orange blossom, 1 part blackberry honey. It was a sack mead. I used about 3 kilos per 5, so it's about, I don't know, it's in a 1 gallon batch. I used about 3 kilos of honey, so it's a lot of honey, and it pumped out at about, I think it was about 13.5%, 14%. And I didn't sulfite it. I just let it go. And yeah, it's now sitting at about 3.5, almost 4 years old. And I've got about, I think, 6 bottles of it. And I've put it aside of there's a couple of bottles that I'm going to keep for his 21st birthday. And one bottle, I had one bottle, like, I'll give it to him for his 18th, because in Australia, when you're 18, you can drink.
Yeah.
And the other bottles I'm going to keep for his 21st birthday. And I've got 2 bottles, one for me, one for Steve. That I said, okay, we'll keep that for like our 20th birthday for the Meadery or something.
There you go.
Yeah, so but that one I try round about the anniversary of when it was made. I always just try a little bit, or like I've got one bottle that's been cracked for a while, or I'll crack a bottle and taste it, and it's incredible how that's developed over the years. At the moment, it's about 6 months ago I tried it. It's like velvet. It is just, oh my God. Like, it's, dude, I can't describe the incredibleness of it. Like I said, I'm pretty, not bragging, but I feel like we make good mead.
I would hope so.
Yeah, we've now, yeah, I tell you what, if I could justify commercially aging my mead like 4 or 5 years, I would totally do it. It's something that we are looking at doing. We are looking at making some aged traditionals and aged meads, but it's something that's really difficult from a commercial point of view, because it's a lot of time and money you're investing that really, even if you do it, say 5 years or 3 years, you know, you can't let something sit there for 3 years in a fermenter and then sell it in the market as a 3-year-old mead and expect to get a couple $100 a bottle for it.
Right.
You've still got to be realistic of how much you're going to get back. So commercially, it's hard to justify, but as a home brewer, I love doing it. So yeah, I put in a few others now that I'm like, I'm going to age them for like 10 years and see what it turns out like.
Nice.
But yeah, I can't wait to open that in 20 odd years time and just see that.
It's going to be a really special thing for your boy on his 18th birthday, man. I'm very envious of him. That sounds absolutely delightful. I've only got a couple.
Well, hopefully, if.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, hopefully, if one year I do get out there, I can meet you in person. I'll bring a bottle, and we can try it.
Dude,
about 5 or 6 years by then.
That would be
I can't remember how many bottles I've made. I had about 10 liters, I think, of it in the end, and I think I made about 12 bottles. And only about 4 or 5 of them, I'm like, no, I'm not touching those. The others, I'm like, I'm just going to hold on for special occasions. Yes. So I'm like, yeah, I'll come to America. I'm like, I'll bring a bottle of that and a few of the bush honeys. And yeah.
Dude,
I'd love to share it with people that really would appreciate it.
Dude, that's all. That's what it's all about, man. That would be an honor. So we got a couple minutes left here. I'd like to switch it up a little bit and add some lighthearted, just kind of quirky type of questions in there, if you don't mind.
Sure. As long as you don't mind quirky answers.
No, I appreciate that. I thrive on quirky answers. So, fruit on your pizza, man. Pineapple on your pizza. In America here, that's a huge divide. It's very divisive. What about there in Australia?
Who the fuck puts pineapple on a pizza? Honestly. Like, yeah, no, look, I think it's an international debate that's been raging for a while.
Oh, yes.
Personally, I think it's gross, but I'll caveat that though. Like with mead, you do you. Whatever you like, you go for it. It's your pizza. We have like what we call, I don't know if I'm saying, what's called the Hawaiian, which is basically like a cheese, ham, and pineapple pizza. Every pizza shop in Australia has that. Yeah. But yeah, I've tried it, and it's just like, it's too sweet. It's like having a fucking lolly on your bloody pizza.
Oh, that's what I love about it. I've got a pretty nasty sweet tooth as it is, so I could definitely relate to that, being a sweet thing. Oh man, I got all sorts of little kittens in the house, so if you hear kittens in the background, that's what that is. So are you a dog or a cat person? I know you post a ton of pictures of you got a big old chubby kitty cat.
Yeah, so I've always been a dog person my whole life, but then I got a couple of cats and I fell in love with them. I've got 2 cats that they're outside at the moment, but I've got one boy, Eddie, who's a domestic short hair, grey and white, but he looks like this big, like feral tomcat. Like he's a big boy, he's big buff, like big chubby dog. yeah, if you saw, and he keeps pulling off his collar, so you see him like, and I've tried everything. I've tried every those spinny gate things. He gets out. Like I just throw my hands up. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Go explore, disappear, whatever. So he looks like a big tomcat, and you see him walking down the street, and you're like, oh god, I hope the rangers don't come and think he's some feral and stuff. But he is the biggest sook in the world. He's scared of birds. Like I have a cat that is terrified of birds.
Well, to be fair,
like it's the funniest thing
birds in Australia, brother.
We've got a few of them. The old cassowary that would beat your heart out, literally. Yeah, no. So, yeah, I've got him, and I've got my princess. I call her Freddie. So I got Eddie and Freddie, and she's just another tabby, but she's pure white, long haired, and whenever she sits like a sphinx or like a princess, and she literally licks her paw like this, like she's very, yeah. Where Eddie's just the big clumsy tomcat, she's the princess. Yeah, but I love them. They're both very affectionate cats.
Do you guys have Girl Scout cookies in Australia?
No, we don't.
Oh man, that's
not that I know of. Maybe in some parts, but no, we're not around here. We do have Girl Scouts, although I don't think we actually have Girl Scouts. We have Girl Guides, which is basically the version of Girl Scouts.
But they don't really.
And we have like the Scouts
every year for you to consume.
No, not really. It's not really a thing here. But having grown up on American television that all my life, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm a bit jealous. I've seen some good stuff about them.
Is there any one of them that draws out to you? Any flavor profile? The most popular one is the Thin Mint, but.
Yeah, mint sounds good. I'm a big mint fan. Anything like peppermint and stuff. I'm there. I've seen a few floating around, but yeah, none really stand out to me. It's one of those things. It's even like your desserts over there, like the pies. So here, if you said someone like, "Do you want a pie?" It's like we think of like a meat pie, like an old 4 and 20 meat pie. But yeah, you guys talk about pies as like these like pastry with fruits and stuff in them. Which we do have, but they're just not. You don't see them, or they're usually like in tart forms or something like that.
Right. Yeah. No, there's not a whole lot of meat pies here in America. All our pies are very much why we look like Americans, brother.
Let's just say there's a reason why I always shoot from here up. The isolation has not been. Not been kind to my waistline.
No, I think I put on about 30 pounds during quarantine, brother. It's just been gnarly.
Yeah. And like I said, I work a 9 to 5, and I've been working from home for like the last 12 months, and I never realized how bad that would be for me, because you go from working in an office space where like we have an amazing cafe and stuff like right next door, so a lot of coffees and a lot of donuts and beautiful like hot food and stuff like that. But I never realized until I started working from home how dangerous it is when you have a fridge and a freezer and a toaster and an air fryer and all that kind of shit, like literally right next to you, and like a whole kitchen and a whole pantry. And I've just moved into a new house we just built where we've got like a walk-in pantry. And it's just like, you never realized how dangerous it was, where you get off a Zoom call with work and you're just like, why the fuck wasn't that an email? And you're like, screw it, I'm hungry. I'm going to make some toast or something.
Dude.
And yeah, it's just like, first few weeks at home, I reckon I just sat there all day with just like a big pot of coffee and just food.
That was me, man. As soon as that whole thing started, I was like, you know what? I'm so stressed right now. I don't even care. Just give me everything. I just ate and ate and ate. And it was delicious all the while.
Dangerous.
Oh, big time, brother.
And we've only just, I'm sort of out. I call myself country, but we're really more of like a city than a country. Like we're not that rural, but because we are rural, we don't have things like Uber Eats and stuff like that here. We still don't have Uber. But we've just recently gotten things like DoorDash and Menulog. I don't know if that's something you guys have over there. Basically like Uber Eats sort of thing. That's only just started up here. And then when the pandemic hit, like all these places were doing home deliveries. including like the really nice restaurants and cafes around.
Yeah.
So that was dangerous as well, because then all of a sudden it was like, you know, all this amazing restaurant food was like a call or a couple of clicks away.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then you justify, you're like, I'm supporting local. I have to buy food from these people.
I'm a local business. I got to support local. That's just how it is. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what, that was my excuse. And then I saw my bank balance go down and my waistline go up. And it was like, yeah, we need to stop buying so much food. And
Dude,
yeah, especially during lockdowns and stuff. It's, yeah, like I was pretty fortunate having moved into a new house. Like we've done a lot of our own landscaping and gardening and stuff. So it's been enough to keep me busy, but at the same time, and with the business and stuff, but at the same time, there's a lot of, you never realize how often you just go down the street for the sake of going down the street, or go with friends or whatever else it is.
Yep.
So there's a lot of like downtime and a lot of time where it's like, what are we going to do? I don't know. Let's just
sick.
Sit around.
Yep.
TV. What was that?
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, so
You're such a cool dude, man. I can't wait to meet you guys. I would love to come to Australia, or if you guys get to come here, whichever way happens first, I would definitely love to be involved in meeting you guys in some way, shape, or form. You seem like such cool cats, man.
oh, thanks, man. Same to you. I mean, yeah, I'd love to invite you to our mead table. I have a dream one day of sit down with a few of you guys and just drink mead and talk shit, because
Yes.
yeah, I love it. I love the mead community. I love what you're doing. Like I said, I'm a subscriber of yours and I watch your videos and stuff, because it's great seeing what the Americans are doing, to then compare, like not compare or compete, but I love keeping a foot in the door with everyone, sort of thing.
See what everybody's doing. It's a share. We call that a share around here. Have a meat share. Everybody tries everybody's stuff and commune and have a loving spirit and let it be a great thing, brother.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I won't lie. I have been trying to steal some of your American meads, especially seeing some of the flavors that some of the big boys are releasing. I'm just like, I could do that. Yeah, no, the one thing that you guys will never do, which I am going to bring to America one day, and I'm going to force the Americans to try it,
yes,
is our Vegemite mead.
I will give it a shot, because I will try anything like that. But man, my knee-jerk reaction is no. Why don't you make a Tim Tam flavored mead, man? That sounds delicious.
Oh. Well, that's actually, I am working on something similar. I don't know if you guys have Milo in America, or that's the thing.
Yeah, we do. We can get it here. You have to look for it, but I love Milo. It's so good.
I'm currently trying to make a Milo, or it's more of I'm calling it a choc malt bochet. So my idea is to try and, I'm playing around with it. It's kind of difficult because some of the ingredients in Milo, trying to work it so we can get like a nice bochet, but then infuse like the chocolate and malt of the Milo into that.
That sounds
be all right.
wonderful.
But I'm this close to perfecting our Vegemite mead. It's sort of a bit of a running joke amongst a few of us Aussies, and with like some of the Americans of, I'm gonna make a Vegemite mead and then enter it into like MeadCon and what's the big mead company goes over there. Make a Vegemite mead and enter it into all the American competitions and just watch you guys cringe and flinch.
Oh, and they
tried Vegemite.
That would be an absolute horror on everybody's face. I don't think anybody would know what to think about it. I don't know if I've ever had a mead that was made with something that salty before. But you know what? I'll give it a shot, man. If anybody out there is going to do it well, I'm sure it's going to be you.
Mate, if you guys can pull off a taco mead, anything's possible. I mean, I've heard of taco mead, a seaweed mead. Did I hear right in one of your videos, someone's making an onion mead?
Yeah, there was a guy here who was making a caramelized onion mead. I don't know if he was making it for production. His name is Chris. He runs a place called Four Fires Meadery. Yeah, he was talking about caramelized onion mead. And I want to be in on that test batch so bad. So bad I want to be on that test batch.
Yeah, I sort of set myself the challenge, like moving forwards, like once a year, I want to do a release that's just like out there, like just a little bit fucked up and a little bit like, well, like to be able to do like, yeah, like an onion meat or something would just be, yeah. I'm playing around with a few different things,
Yeah,
but yeah, I love those out there things. I think
Vegemite,
push the boundaries, why not?
that would be great to Vegemite, man. I'm all about it. So if
I tell you what, it's getting there. It's almost like I said. I don't want to do it. It's kind of like this. I heard about the seaweed mead at the MeadCon one year. Where everyone's like, "Oh, they tasted it." I was like, "That was amazing." And same with like the taco mead. Like I want to try and make it so that yes, it's really weird and people go, "Oh no," but then if you were going to try it and go, "That's actually really delicious."
yeah,
Like I'm aiming at a sort of a salted caramel type mead. It's sort of
yeah, I
yeah. So to use the molasses and the salt of the Vegemite, but then try and sort of counteract that with some really nice sort of caramel notes, maybe.
would you use a Bochet
So there
honey?
we go. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So our honey genius, I call him Luke. He not long ago came to us with like about 15 kilos, which is like
40 pounds.
about 2 or 3 uh, 5 gallon, I don't know how much it is, but yeah, a couple of gallons worth of this honey that he'd burnt. And what it was when he extracts the wax, he basically just cooks the shit out of this honey to easily extract the wax. And then what's left over is this like burnt or caramelized honey. And he can't sell it. No one wants to touch it because it's cooked and it's burnt, whatever. And he's like, "Do you guys want it? You have it for free." And I went, "Fuck yeah, we'll have it for free. I'll take anything you're going to give for free." Because yeah, he normally would tip it down the drain because no one wants it. It's not good for table honey. He can't use that much of it. He can't give it away. Like his other beekeepers, no one wanted it. It
Right.
was literally like a byproduct. So he would normally tip it down the drain. And I went, "No, no, 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 don't ever tip any honey down the drain. Give it to us. We'll ferment it and see how it goes."
Yes.
So yeah, I chucked in a fermenter, made a traditional or a Bochet, I suppose, out of it. And that's became what we call it. We've called it burnt offerings because it's sort of like, yeah, he offered us the burnt stuff. And we released it first at that beekeeping field day, and it was our biggest seller. It went off. And so now we're going back to him and going, "More. We'll buy it off you now. Give us more."
Yeah.
Like, he's like, "I haven't got any more yet." I'm like, "Well, when you do, we'll take all of it."
No.
Because it's actually really a nice honey and it makes it amazing. So yeah, well, I love the idea of pushing the boundary. Like I said, you take a honey that no one wants to touch, and even when I taste the honey, it's like it's burnt. Like it's got like a real not ash or charcoal, but that real sort of like burnt meat flavor in the honey.
Barbecue or something.
Yeah, yeah, because it was cooked at like 70 degrees Celsius for like 3 days or something. Like it's just hot and fast. So
Yeah.
it's burnt the crap out of. And like I said, it's basically like beekeepers normally throw it down the sink. And I love the idea of taking something like that and actually making something delicious out of it. Like, so once we fermented it, it was fucking delicious. Like
Definitely have
caramels
a
and
bottle
all
of that
this
aside for me, man. I would love a bottle of that. So set one of those aside for me. If you got any of those left, I will find a way to get a hold of that from you. That is.
No, we'll do. I've got one actually right here.
Oh,
That's it for you there. Oh, I probably can't really see it well on the camera, but
okay.
yeah, no, I don't even see the color,
Yes.
but it just, the color of it came out just like a golden hue. And yeah, I love it. So I love the idea of pushing boundaries and
Yeah.
yeah, using other people's scraps and leftovers. We'll use it.
If people want to follow you, where can they? What social media do you guys have? Where are you guys at?
So we're pretty much everywhere. So we're on Facebook, just bearded, bearded be Meadery, or yeah, that one. Yeah. We'll post some links to that. But yeah, no, on Facebook is sort of our main thing. We are on Instagram, or not much of that. And we are on TikTok now as well. So I've been doing some TikToks. and hope to do some more coming up. Our TikTok accounts, we want to make that really an educational platform more than anything. So not only giving some behind the scenes stuff and showing some stuff, but also just providing some information for home brewers and stuff like that. Because
cool, man.
We're very passionate. I mean, I want you to buy my mead, but I also want you to make mead as well. And I'm more than happy if anyone has any questions that hit me up. Because yeah, I can talk mead for days.
I love to hear it.
I'm supporting anyone that wants to make mead.
That's so cool, man. I love to hear it. So please, everybody who's watching this, go follow Nick and the rest of the dudes over there at the Bearded Bee Meadery in Australia. They're doing some wonderful things, and you will not be disappointed in what you see from these guys. They're up-and-comers in the mead world. In the next couple of years, I promise, these guys are going to be world-renowned. So follow them. Thanks, everybody, for being here to me today. Thanks, Nick, for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a great 2 hours. It's just flew by.
Yeah, thanks, man. Sorry if I've rambled a bit, but no, I really appreciate you letting me on, and yeah, great to chat to you, and I'll look forward to chatting again sometime, and yeah, maybe one day we can chat in person, and I can get you to do an honest mead review on some of our stuff.
I would love it. It's a dream of mine as well. So until we can talk again, my brother, have a good night or a good morning over there. It's probably about lunchtime now, so I'll let you go do that. I'm gonna go hit up the dinner table and have a good night. Peace.